catch up on the happenings around the league. It's the Elite Wire with Bradley.
Yo, what is up, Madden Elite? Bradley here. We are at it with another edition of The Wire. We have a small slate of topics to look at today. We've had a busy week here in Madden Elite. We had The Wire, we had Trash Talk Tuesday, phenomenal episode of Trash Talk Tuesday. We had another TED Talk that released. We have another TED Talk as well to be scheduled to be released next week. That's already filmed and ready to go. I believe we'll have Trash Talk Tuesday this week. We'll have a fight night coming up this week. We didn't have one this past week because of the NFL draft. Is what it is, though, you know. So, yeah, that will be back, though, this week. So we had earlier this morning, we had a special Sunday morning commentary stream that featured Debo and his Lions colliding with Sweets and his Bears. My voice is a little bit hoarse from commenting that one. Is what it is, though. It's all good. It's all good. It's an absolutely amazing game. Anytime you do commentary for a game, you always hope that it's a good game, and a lot of times, you get crappy games, oh crap, we got a crappy game. But that's not what it was. We had a phenomenal game. Went down to the very end. Really a couple key turnovers decided that game. Both guys played an amazing game. That race in the NFC North, it is a close race. It is a tough race. We're going to see more NFC action tonight as Bread collides with the Vikings, with True Talent and his Vikings from the NFC North. That game will actually be hosted by Live with CG. If everything works out, we're planning to partner up with him every Sunday night, probably around 9 p.m. Eastern. This game in particular, though, will be airing at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to stop by that, check that out. We here in Elite, we want to come out, we want to back that, we want to support that, we want to hit a home run and have a huge turnout for that stream with CG hosting it. We'll talk more, though, about that game here momentarily. At the end of the show, we're going to talk more about the matchup between Bread and True Talent. In the meantime, though, we have a handful of topics to look at. And the first topic I want to look at is one that's kind of gotten me some slack, that's kind of gotten me some heat. And that is the topic of Bossman. Freight and his ratings gave Bossman no love, listed him as tier 4. We're not going to get into another tier argument here. That's not what this is about. But he listed him as tier 4, and I went over and be like, no way, Bossman is not tier 4. I want to take a moment, though, to talk to Bossman, heart to heart. Bossman, I want to have a heart to heart with you. All right, man. I went out on a limb for you, and I was like, Bossman's not tier 4. But when we look at your record and what you've done this season, man, everything says tier 4. But I know you're not tier 4. I know the truth of the matter. You have Super Bowls tied to your name in other leagues. You have an absolutely amazing, underrated user. This all, me having this heart-to-heart with you, Bossman, is probably born out of bias. We've spent time as division mates in past cycles. And I feel like I know your play very well. And I know what you're capable of very well. You should never be 1-9. This last stretch of this season, I'm going to turn the heat on you, man. I want to see you climb out of this hole that you're in, and you've already begun climbing as you now have your first win on the season, but you're better than this. I expect more of you than what your record shows. Bossman, my expectation for you, I want you to win out, and I think it is entirely possible, boss. I'm going to coach you, boss man. This is me coaching you through the rest of your season. And like looking at what you've already done, like there's a lot of games you lost, man, that you should not have lost, but you lost them. And the remainder of your schedule, I believe you are 100% capable of winning every single game on the schedule for you. Going into week 12, you'll be matched up against the Chargers. He is sitting at an impressive 7-3 record, but nothing that I've seen from the Chargers makes me think that you can't beat him. Honestly, I believe Chargers is exceeding. Okay, I believe his record makes him look to be better than what he is. I don't believe he's a top guy. Boss man, you are capable of going in and beating this guy. When you go into week number 13, I'm expecting you, boss man, to be 2-9. Week 13, though, you will have a tough game. You will be colliding with True Talent. The thing about True Talent is he is a predictable opponent. Boss man, you are Madden smart. You are Madden savvy. Go in, play smart, get the win over True Talent. Week number 14, you'll be colliding with the 0-10 Patriots. You go in and you clobber P. Will, boss man. That's what I want you to do. I want you to go into week 4 with a 3-9 record, and I'm expecting you to clobber P. Will and his Patriots. Week 15, though, will be probably your hardest stop in this schedule, in the remainder of your schedule, and it's Bread. Everybody knows my opinions of Bread. He's the best in the biz. Bread, though, is not a death sentence, boss man. This is your chance to go in. When you go in and you play Bread with the 4-9 record, coming off this impressive win streak that you're going to put together, you're going to come in and you're going to make a statement win against Bread that Freight backtracked on and moved from tier 2 to tier 1 where he respectfully deserves to be. So you're going to go in coming off of this win streak and you're going to get the upset win over Bread and make the statement that I know you're capable of making, boss. And then week number 16, you got Lou and his Packers. He's sitting at 4-6. This will be a tough game, a tougher game than what the schedule is showing, than what the record is showing. Lou is much better than 4-6. The only reason he's 4-6 is because he's in the NFC North, the division that is currently the toughest division in the league. However, coming off wins against True Talent and wins against Bread, this will be a walk in the park. You come in, you beat Lou. You are entirely capable of doing this, and then you finish the season out with Mex. And like, I'm not gonna waste no time and energy on that. You go in and you clobber Mex like his name is P. Will. You hear me? You hear me? You hear me, boss? You are better, boss man. You are better than this 1-9 record. You should never be 1-9. Turn it around. Go on a win streak. Finish this season strong. And there's somebody else that we need to pick a bone with. There is somebody else that we need to pick a bone with. Bossman, I picked this bone with you because you've just had this disappointing season, this 1-9 season. You've been thrown in the list of like the worst teams in the league. I know that's not you. I know you're not tier 4. Bossman, go and prove me right. However, there's somebody else that needs to go and prove something. That somebody else? Cobra, what are you doing? Cobra, what are you doing? You're sitting at 3-7. What are you doing, Cobra? I say boss man should never be 1-9. Cobra, you should never be 3-7. What the heck are you doing, Cobra? I don't know. I could pull up your schedule, Cobra, and we could just start breaking down games, but there's no point in it. Like, you already know what's on your schedule. You already know where you've been, and you know what games you've lost that you should have won, and you know what games are looming. turn this around. There are guys right now in Madden Elite. When I look around at the records in Madden Elite, there are teams that are underperforming well below what they're capable of. And then there are teams that are overperforming. Cobra, you 3-7, Cobra. The ball's in your court. Do something. You're underperforming. Boss Man is underperforming, and we're talking about people that are underperforming. I think there may be someone who might be overperforming, somebody that I've never given respect to. And the question is, does this individual deserve respect, or are they just overperforming? Are they a contender, or are they a pretender? That individual is J-Mac. J-Mac is sitting at an 8-2 record. J-Mac's sitting at an 8-2 record. Is this legit? Is this legit, or is he overperforming? According to Daddy Leagues, his defense is struggling. Defense-wise, he's 20th in allowing points. Yards given up, he's 24th. Pass yards given up, he's 27th. Rushing yards, he's given up, he's 12th. His defense is under the bar. His defense isn't too hot. His offense, though, is impressive. He's scored the second most points in the league. He's averaging 34 points a game. Yards-wise, he's 4th in the league. He's averaging almost 380 yards a game. Passing, he's about 268 yards a game. Rushing, he's about 111 yards a game. He's having himself a great season. I really haven't had a chance yet to peek at his schedule. So let's peek at it and take a look at what he's doing, who he's playing, and who he's got to play. So, coming out, he opened the season against Alex, in a big loss against Alex too. He loses 24-42, turns it around in week 2 with the 56-62 win over Bossman in what was a shootout. And then he clobbers P. Will 16-37. And he then gets a huge win over J-Mac, 42-21. So the first 4 games, he has 2 games against quality opponents, 2 games against top guys, and that is Alex and OC. Loses big to Alex, wins big against OC. I'm going to stick to something that I've previously said, and that is OC's not tier 1. OC, I think, is getting more love, and we're putting him up on a pedestal that he shouldn't be up on. So I look at this win, and this is a good win, but I'm not like, yes. I'm not looking at this and saying this is a defining win. He then goes and plays the Cowboys, wins 42-35, has a bye week, loses to Kanyu, a top guy. He then gets a big win over Dolphins. And then a big win over Bread and his Chiefs. That's a statement win. This win against Bread and combining it with the win over OC, now you got my attention, J-Mac. You got my attention. He then goes in and he beats Cobra. Okay, I'm listening. He then gets a win over the Bills. And that's where we're at. So he's lost some games against quality opponents. He's lost to Alex. He's lost to Kanyu. Those 2 guys are top guys. They are high-end, high-talent guys. But then he also has wins over OC, over Bread, over Cobra. So he's getting it done. He has an impressive schedule, or he has an impressive record. He's 3-2 though against the guys that really make you stop and say, okay, how about this game? Seeing him that he's 3-2 against those guys, I'm not bought in. I'm not sold. I don't think that J-Mac is a contender at the top of the level. He's sitting barely above 500 right now when it comes to playing the high-end guys. Looking at the rest of his schedule, his schedule's pretty soft. Looking at the rest of his schedule, there's only one game that really, on the remainder of his schedule, that really makes me stop and say, okay, how about that game? And that's week 14 when he collides with Doc. Other than that, I think he's in position to run the table in the AFC. I think there's a good chance J-Mac may go into the playoffs with a first round bye. However, I could very well see J-Mac going into the playoffs with a first round bye. And then when the divisional rounds come, I could see the number 1 seed in the AFC North getting clobbered. However, just the fact of J-Mac possibly being the number 1 seed, that is something that I did not expect. And if you would have surveyed everybody in the league, there may have only been one person that would say J-Mac would be the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, and that's J-Mac. I don't think anybody else would have picked J-Mac to possibly be the number 1 seed. And if J-Mac does anything other at this point than land the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs with the remainder of his schedule and how weak it looks to be, I think his season is a disappointment. J-Mac, lock down that number 1 seed, go into the playoffs when that divisional round comes around, shut me up, and earn my respect. We're talking about contender, pretender, how good is J-Mac? Let's have another conversation. And that other conversation is one of disappointment. I'm disappointed. Who am I disappointed in? I'm disappointed in the AFC South. The Jags at 5-5, the Colts at 4-6, the Titans, Doc, 4-6, the Texans, 3-7. Doc has gotten immense love. We've put him up on a pedestal. GBZ, he's running under the radar, but there are people that say he's a top contender. Nobody in this division is over 500. Doc, if you are as good as people say you are, turn the last stretch of this season around. GBZ, if you are as good as people are making you out to be, turn this division around. And let me take a moment to talk to Freight. Freight Train, do you realize the position of your division? Like, nobody looks at Freight Train and goes, okay, that's the top guy. But also, nobody's looking at Freight Train and going, okay, he's a bottom feeder. Freight, you're running under the radar right now. You have a chance to make a statement. I want to see, I don't care who it is, I want to see somebody in this AFC South make a statement in the last stretch of this season. All that said, we have one last topic to look at tonight. And that topic is tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern over at twitch.tv/livewithcg. We are going to see a huge clash between Brett and his Chiefs. We've already talked about it at the top of the show. We're going to see a huge clash between Brett and his Chiefs and True Talent and his Vikings. I think going into this, most people are probably looking at Brett to run away with this game. And I think the pressure is on Brett to do this. Like I put Brett up on a pedestal all the time. A lot of people look at Brett in high regard, but I don't think the pressure is coming from me putting him up on a pedestal. I don't think the pressure is coming from those who hold him in a high regard. I think it comes from Brett's mouth himself. Brett is on record saying that True Talent is the most predictable guy in the league. He's the most boring game of Madden you'll play. Of all the games of Madden you'll ever play. Brett, if he's as predictable as you say he is, go in and crush this guy. True Talent? If I was to talk to True Talent right now, if I was face to face with True Talent, I would say, True, you continually win game after game after game after game, and you're always in the playoffs. But nobody puts respect on your name. Like, I'm picking Brett in this game. I think most of the league is picking Brett in this game. There are probably very few that are picking you in this game, True Talent. This is going to be broadcasted in Spotlight over at Live with CG. You want to talk about people with a chance to make a statement. True Talent, this is your chance to make a statement. Who's going to make the statement tonight? Who's going to make the statement tonight? This is a big game for both of these guys. True talent. True talent in the NFC North. He is a game down. He is a game down. Sweets just won big over Debo earlier in the day. Noon Eastern, they collided, was featured over on the league stream. Sweets pulled out that game. He's now sitting at a 9-2 record. True, you can't afford to allow Bread to give you a loss in this game. You have to go into this game. You have to stay in it. You have to win. You cannot allow yourself to go 2 games down, 2 games behind with Debo beneath you, looming, reaching up, trying to make something happen out of desperation. You need to go in and you need to make this happen. Bread, you're sitting at 7-3. You got the Chargers right behind you at 7-3 as well. Not only do you have the pressure you've put on yourself by saying Debo is the most boring game of Madden you'll ever play, you also have Chargers coming up from behind you, biting at your heels. In the AFC wildcard slot, it's not guaranteed right now. Actually, I take that back. I take that back. Chances are both Chiefs and Chargers are going to be in the playoffs. There are 2 7-3 teams, but there are a handful of 5-win teams that could turn something around and make something happen. But still, Brett, you need to make a statement. The pressure has been turned on you not only from like what you've said about True Talent in the past, but I mean you saw it with the tier rankings. You were originally disrespected and thrown into tier 2. There are people that say, Bread, you're not the Bread of old. Go out and prove them wrong. Until next time, peeps. Remember tonight, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/live with CG. Peace.